right, folks, I'm currently standing in the Rio Grande River right now. This is what it looks like right here, all dirt.
Dried out.
All dirt.
Completely dried out. Looks like Africa in the dry season.
You're looking at an environmental catastrophe, what this is. The new Meta data center in Los Lunas, New Mexico, takes 75 million gallons per year to cool down the data center. And this is what we're left with. Another data center is being built in El Paso right now, a Facebook Meta data center. How much more water is that going to take?
You guys, I don't know if you've been watching, but the Lake Powell, it's almost dried out. The Hoover Dam is its lowest levels ever. And that is the agriculture of California, all of the water supply. These data centers, you guys, they're taking all the groundwater every single day. And you know what else is even worse about the whole thing? Is they don't even need water really to cool it. They're too cheap to use the cooling agent that would cool them instead of just using water. There's an ingredient that I guess that they could use with water, and it'd be expensive, but they won't pay for that. So they just want to use the massive amounts of water. That's what they're doing. And this is happening in Utah. It's happening in all over. They're going to build, I mean, you guys, they can't take all the groundwater. If they take all the groundwater, we will literally, as human beings, die. We cannot.
Okay, if you want to see the water levels in Colorado, this is Dillon Reservoir. Are you sure we shouldn't be worried about the water?
So here we are, Rio Grande. Look at that. Check that out. Just like a wasteland, look. That is, wow, look, there's all birds flying around. It's insane.
This is gonna absolutely blow your mind. What you are looking at behind me is the Euphrates River. Now, for all those Bible skeptics out there, those who don't believe, let's make the Bible come to life for you. Revelation 16:12 reveals, "And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up." Now, can anybody tell me, from 2002 until 2026, the present time, does it look like the water is drying up? Now, if that's just not proof enough for you, let's go ahead and blow your socks off too. Revelation 9:14 also states that, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, "Loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates." Now, as the river has been drying up, look what has been being revealed. Caves, caverns, and it looks like man-made prisons where angels could be bound. Is your mind blown, or is
the Mississippi River?
The Mississippi River.
The Mississippi River, this is also incredible, has hit historic low levels due to the current drought.
The Mississippi River is often called America's vital artery. Now, that artery is being clogged by those who tried to control it.
The climate crisis is also top of mind for many voters. The Mississippi River is at historically low levels, which could impact the food supply and our wallets.
Barges are getting stranded, salt water is rushing inland, and nature is being destroyed.
A U.S. Coast Guard commander says boats and barges are having a tough time getting up the river, and that's causing serious bottlenecks.
But the culprit behind all that is not any enemy. Rather, this is the result of one of the most misplanned mega projects in American history, a project that is now costing billions every year in damages. A historic mess-up. In 2022, the Mississippi River suffered one of the worst disasters in its history. The water levels dropped by 11 feet, triggering a series of catastrophic events. Barges that fueled America's economy sat still in the water, stranded and unable to move. Meanwhile, in Louisiana, the drop in water levels allowed seawater from the Gulf of Mexico to creep in, cutting off the supply of fresh water to hundreds of thousands of homes in Louisiana. The damage wasn't just limited to America's economy and the welfare of its people. Nature became a victim too as the crisis left its mark on the native species in the region. But this wasn't a solitary occurrence. Rather, the same phenomenon happened the next year and has continued to occur every year since then, with the most recent drought occurring in 2025. However, this yearly disaster isn't the work of nature. Rather, it is the product of human intervention trying to rein in a natural powerhouse that was never meant to be tamed. After all, the history of the Mississippi River goes far beyond our own. During the last ice age, about 14,000 years ago, the melting of the glaciers and the subsequent movement of the resulting water were what formed the Mississippi River. And since then, it has been a key partner of humankind. For thousands of years, the native people and tribes used the calm flow to travel, to trade, and to connect their communities. The very name of the river is a variation of Mississippi, its original name in the Ojibwe indigenous language of North America. When the French explorers set out to map these waters in the 16th century, they realized the importance of this lifeline that was powering civilization. Whoever controlled this key route would control the Americas. Then, in 1803, the Louisiana Purchase occurred, which saw the size of America nearly double, just so the access to the Mississippi's mouth could be secured. A worthy purchase indeed, since once the steamboat era began, America made full use of the natural highway created by the river to transport goods and people across the states. Cotton, coal, timber, grain, all the things that drove the economy at the time were carried on the shoulders of these waters. It was the economic heart of the region, creating wealth and plenty. Up until now, humans were profiting from the natural highway they have been blessed with. On top of that, they were benefiting from its water, using it to quench their thirst and water their farms and cattle. But like any natural force, the Mississippi also acted up on occasion. And in 1927, it acted up like it never had before. An interesting fact about the Mississippi River is that it drains nearly 40% of the nation's area. That means if the volume of the ice melting and rainfall is too much, it can easily flood. And in 1927, the river flooded to unprecedented levels. It devastated several regions. From homes, farmlands, and roads, nothing was left. 500 people lost their lives, and 630,000 were directly affected. The disaster became one of the worst in American history. Damages reached the $1 billion mark, which in today's money translates to nearly $14.5 billion. Meanwhile, large settlements were displaced, people lost their homes, and were forced to migrate. The event became known in the annals of history as the Great Mississippi Flood, and it left a mark on the people, which became a catalyst for another disaster. You see, after the flood, the American people realized how vulnerable the lands around the Mississippi River were, and seeing all the damage and suffering, they decided to never let something like that happen again. The government decided the best path forward would be to rein in the Mississippi River. What began as a cooperation between man and the river had now turned into a need to control. The Army Corps of Engineers was deployed to begin work on a massive project in the 1930s. Their aim was simple: make the Mississippi flood-proof and make it even better for transporting goods. The Army Corps must be applauded since they fulfilled that mission spectacularly. They built dams, locks, and hundreds of miles of levees. The banks of the river that were once natural banks were, for the most part, turned into sturdier pathways made of concrete or mud. The results were everything the government wanted and more. The dams and levees could hold back even the biggest floods by containing and releasing water to manage the flow of the river. A disaster like the Great Flood wouldn't be a looming threat anymore. But that wasn't the only thing these engineers had achieved. They straightened out the bends of the river to reduce the travel time for barges and cargo vessels. The narrow parts of the river were widened to allow more vessels to pass through. Not only that, but since the flow of water was now carefully controlled, the river could be used year-round for transporting goods. By doing all that, the engineers were able to boost the economic output in the region by billions of dollars. For a while, the entire project clearly seemed like a resounding success. Little did anyone realize at the time that in the process of bringing the river under their own control, humans had made a huge mistake. The river that humans had relied on for thousands of years was